I guess it's been about a half a year since I saw The Last Jedi for the first time. It was a Friday night on the release weekend, and I was in my fiance's hometown, and we were going to see the movie with her parents, like we did for The Force Awakens and Rogue One. After we had some Taco Bell, went to the theater, I sat down in my comfy seat and took a deep breath, and it was Star Wars time. I walked out of this theater feeling very, very strange. I felt like I had just seen the next installment of my favorite franchise, but I was let down. On my long drive home, I was thinking about what I'd just seen. I mainly remembered the saber fight and most of the ending. I remembered how mesmerizing that lightspeed ram was, seeing Rey become a Jedi, Luke passing away, Kylo becoming the evil he'd wanted to be, and it was cathartic. I was overwhelmed when I left, and now 6 months down the line, and a couple more viewings in, I feel like I have a lot better grasp on how I feel about it. Now, if I had to lean from one side to another, I would lean on the side of not liking the movie. Now listen, I do not think this movie is terrible. Not at all. It does not insult me as a Star Wars fan. It doesn't insult my childhood. I just don't think it's that great of a movie. And I don't think it's that great of a Star Wars movie. But I'm not just gonna blindly hate on the thing. But I feel like there are some good reasons to think that it's not a good movie. No movie is perfect, but sometimes the flaws stick out more than others do. Jokes can hit the nail on the head for me when they don't for others, and vice versa. And that's okay. I'm not making this video to sway your opinion of the movie. I'm making this video to show you how somebody logical can think about this movie while not trying to make you change your opinion. That being said, I'm going to start with my reasons for not liking this movie. So I know a lot of content creators and video essay guys have made a video about Bathos. Bathos is pretty much undercutting serious scenes with comedy.
This is General Hux of the First Order. The Republic is no more. Your fleet are rebel scum and war criminals. Tell your precious princess there will be no terms. There will be no surrender.
Hi, I'm holding for General Hux.
This is Hux. You and your friends are doomed. We will wipe your filth from the galaxy.
Okay, I'll hold.
You know it from Marvel movies.
Out of the way, dumber, smaller group!
Even have an opinion.
You know it from Tarantino
You gotta have an
movies.
opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped?
Oh, what the fuck's happening? Oh,
man.
shit, man!
Oh man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Why the fuck you do that?
Yes, there is some in all Star Wars movies, but this movie, it's just littered with it. And with Bathos comes a lack of emotional scenes that land. So here's a deleted scene. And when I saw this, when I got the special edition Blu-ray, I said out loud, why was this removed? It's such a great look into Leia's state of mind, connecting her with Luke. Why? So instead of having this really pivotal scene where you see the parallels between Luke and Leia and their different situations, you just aren't given this opportunity to see it in the final cut. So now everything that could have emotional weight associated with it is being undercut. Do I doubt that Poe would make smartass remarks to a First Order general? Not at all. I thought that was actually pretty good. But trying to fix this isn't about trying to pull all of the humor out of the film. It's about finding the right place to insert the joke. Now, I think a part of this movie where bathos did work was when Rey and Kylo were in Snoke's throne room. Snoke smacked Rey in the back of the head with the saber to show how he can toy with her. But it was funny, and it was sort of like a nervous laughter. But at the beginning of the movie, the single scene that I wanted to see the most is when Rey and Luke meet for the first time. Luke throws the lightsaber off the cliff. Having the setup from the previous movie practically spits in the face of the audience. There was tension, there was wonder, and it was all brought down by a cheap joke. And it could have been achieved by Luke doing something else. He could have said something darkly comedic, like, "Hey, did you happen to find my hand with it, or did they tell you how I lost that?" It would have been funny, it would have called back to previous things, and it would have been dark. Exactly what this movie's been going for. My second big problem was the whole Rose and Finn story. I think this was the single most mishandled relationship and storyline of the film. Now, I like Rose, I like her motivations, but she was characterized in a terrible way. It's like after her first scene, we totally forget that her sister died to defeat the Dreadnought at the beginning. Well, I didn't forget. Rian Johnson forgot. She wanted to continue what her sister had done. Her story was about liberation, hating the machine of war. We forgot that she was fighting for her sister and not just the resistance. Inspiring those slave kids could have been a lot more powerful if what she did in the climax of the movie was not so cringy either.
We're with the resistance.
There was no lead up to that kiss, by the way. Just gotta get that in there. Finn's progress as a character is quite confusing. I guess after everything that happened on Starkiller Base, I assumed he was all in for the Resistance. I was wrong, and that was okay. He had a strong connection to Rey, and that's what he used to get through the movie, not Rose or the Resistance. The Resistance only becomes important to Finn in the last 20 minutes of the movie, not really giving us a great look into his inner conflict, whether he's trying to do this for the Resistance or just for Rey. So I think this whole arc could have been aided by one thing: a role switch. Think about this. Like her sister, Rose wants to make sure the Resistance has the victory, and her sister realized that self-sacrifice was necessary for this victory. Rose should have been the one to sacrifice herself. Destroying the battering ram, holding the other amulet, this would have been Finn's turning point, deciding to fight for the Resistance, not just for Rey. Kylo could still go all Force crazy and still have the battle with Luke. This would just give a greater and more realistic finish to Rose's story, while also kickstarting Finn's commitment to the Resistance. So those are the things that really make this movie not so enjoyable. But there are some really, truly amazing things in this film that aren't given enough due time, and I want to talk about them. So I want to start with the lightsaber action. This has to be a top 2 lightsaber scene in the entire franchise. The slow motion allows us to take in the moment and see what is before us. The speed of time ramps up, and we finally get to see what Rian Johnson is great at doing: filming great action. There are long takes, good cutaways, creative fighting, and it's so awesome to watch. I was getting chills in this theater. Also, let's rewind to the beginning of the film. Poe's attack run and subsequent Resistance attack is some of the best space combat we've seen too. though some of the stated problems still persist, like bathos. But the main emotional crutch of the scene is still realized, with Rose's sister sacrificing herself. The second thing that I think is truly commendable is the Rey and Kylo relationship. For most people that I've talked to, this is probably their favorite aspect of the film, while also being the most well done. The parallels between these two characters are innumerable, but when they interact, you actually get to see their full range of acting. Kylo finally gives insight into his perspective. He was a troubled boy and was betrayed. He was irreparably hurt, but he is still somehow sympathetic to his family, or at least his mother. He honestly doesn't want the dark side, he just wants to move on from it, and he is unable to. Say what you want about Rey's parents' reveal, that it's nobody, but I honestly like this. I was immediately sort of let down, but then I thought about it and I was like, you know, it sort of makes sense. Like, we're starting new stories. We don't necessarily need the Skywalkers to be around anymore. They can still be a part of the history, obviously. But if this is going to be about Rey, we don't need everything from the Skywalkers. We already have the Galactic Civil War, this Civil War that's happening right now, to give us context. And I personally think that it makes the whole galaxy feel larger, that we're not just focused on these one group of people. So, I've said all that to say this. This movie is not terrible. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. And I understand why people can be upset about it. People just need to realize that this is Episode 8. There's nothing that's going to change that. And to me, that's okay. We've gotten through not so great episodes in the past. And even though this one is controversial, I'm still looking forward to the next one. Let's just hope there's a bit less Marvel humor and a bit more emotional weight. So guys, I just want to thank you for watching this. It took a long time to get all these thoughts onto a Google Doc and finally be able to think through them and decide if I like this movie or not. So I know a lot of people may not agree with me, but type your opinion down below. You know, this is the internet. You can do that. If you need to dislike me because you don't agree with me, that's fine too. But just think about it. I'm not asking you to change your opinion, I'm just asking you to consider. That being said, guys, I'll see you in the next one.